love sweet God Manga. Lobster's a 10 on the don't you grab it.
This video is brought to you by T-Blocks. Enjoy the content now, but stay for the shilling later.
Hey.
Welcome to Lobster Magnet and Friends. I'm here with my buddy Goro.
That's me.
And we are here to review something we have not reviewed on this channel. Mujirishi, chapters 1 and 2. So this comes from a request from a comment guy who commented on the channel, Isle Soifer, who said, "Hey, there's a new manga, you should go read it." And, obviously I had already kind of been aware of it. And, I was like, you know what? I am going to review this one. Because, this one I didn't, find dumb, and it's from one of my favorite manga guys, Noki. I can't pronounce his name, but the guy who's done 20th Century Boys, Pluto, Monster. He is like the Cormac McCarthy of manga. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I think that's a pretty apt description. He's like the Cormac McCarthy of manga, in that he does kind of pulpy mystery mangas, but they're always always deal with more highbrow subject matter.
Did you mention Billy Bat too?
Yeah, of course. Oh, Billy Bat! I love Billy Bat. Billy Bat is like another one. I just love his material, and I'm a big fan. So of course I'm gonna read his new manga as soon as someone scanslates it and puts it up there. I'm gonna check it out. And that's no exception with Mujirishi. So, Goro, as an artist, what do you think of this collaboration between him and the Louvre?
It's piqued my interest. Louvre, I've heard a lot of great things about. I haven't personally been there myself. Maybe one day that'd be kind of a nice little place to check out and see what all the hype about is.
I heard about this thing. It's called the Statue of Liberty. It's a little hyped up. I'm gonna go visit it. Or I don't know. There's this thing. There's a little bit of hype. It's called the Pyramids of Gaza.
Well, whatever, man. It's just it's got a lot of cool artwork apparently. So I want to maybe check it out at some point. I don't.
No, it's definitely a good thing. But just the way you talk about it, as opposed to this empirical cultural institution that holds the greatest artwork of mankind, that is a pinnacle of Western society. It's sort of talking about it it's like this dinky little con. It's I'd check it out.
Yeah, it's it's not a dinky little con. Of course, it's the pinnacle of all art and human history and stuff, and it's got a huge collection of artworks and stuff of throughout all of history. It should be amazing.
Yeah, and it's definitely it's definitely one of those sort of cultural bragging bucket list kind of things. So oh yes, I went to Paris and I went to the Louvre. But so aside from cultural bragging and experiential stuff that millennials supposedly love, what did you think of these two chapters? For me personally, I'm not quite sure what to think of it. I'm not quite sure what the tone of I'm definitely enjoying it, but I feel like I need someone smarter to make a video to give me the points. I feel like there's a lot of cultural things that that are flying over my head. And I'm also not quite sure what the tone of this is supposed to be, considering it starts out with this family, this guy who owns a factory, and his factory, he's let's just not pay taxes, and what can we do if we didn't pay taxes? And then
God, the worst father ever.
The worst dumb guy ever. And then he's he follows through these people who are ooh, and they have this Donald Trump analog, Beverly Duncan. Oh, Beverly Duncan says the most outrageous things and is running for president. And it's basically
the Beverly Duncan mask is doing that kind of Donald Trump impression with the Beverly Duncan mask. It's just really really disturbing to see.
I always see how Japan filters our culture through it, and the Beverly Duncan thing is another great example of the influence of Donald Trump spreading, and I did enjoy that, and it was surprisingly apolitical given the fact that it's it just sort of sets up that this guy makes all these masks thinking that's how he's going to make money, and then oh no, unlike in real life, Beverly Duncan turns it down and doesn't become outrageous. Nobody's going to buy these masks now.
Yeah, yeah.
which
Kind of
I
like
didn't quite.
opposite of what happens in real life.
Exactly, which I
I
didn't think
kind of
was.
wondered like if he wrote that on purpose or like to make it completely opposite to reality, or if he wrote it before like the final results of the election.
Well,
And
considering he had to write it pretty recently, unless he's been working on this manga in secret for a while. But I feel like it's definitely in response to more modern times. But Beverly Duncan is not the most important thing. The most important thing is this mysterious director who, for some reason, like I don't know, man. Every now and then he draws these like big bucktooth, Japanese guy characters, and I wonder how he gets away with it. Considering, like, isn't that like one of the most defining stereotypes of Japanese people that you can have is just like the big bucktooth people.
um, that is a little strange to see on some of these characters. I mean, I can't remember any other examples, but just this one in particular.
Well, and like in Billy Bat, like the
But-
main guy Kevin Yamada, he like draws this like this other comic before Billy Bat, where it has this like stereotypical guy who's like this who goes to America and he's got like these big buck teeth. But like maybe you could say that like, oh, that was more acceptable in the 1940s, and that's what he chose to do for this like comic gag character. But I always thought it was kind of like odd that he would like lean into that.
You know, I think I've said this before, but like, if he did that consistently with all of his like Asian Japanese characters or whatever, I'd say it was more racist. But he tends to draw like very like exaggerated faces a lot of the time. Like,
But they're a little bit more grounded and sophisticated than like most manga characters, wouldn't you say?
yeah, but I think at a certain point, like the artist has to like go over, like step the bounds of like realistic faces. Like he's drawn so many characters over
Over the
the
course of
years.
his career.
Yeah, and he has to make each and every face like feel like unique and special. If he's like drawing in this kind of like semi-realistic style, like it's necessary. Like he can't rely on like crazy crazy huge characters like in like Oda from One Piece does.
Where
Like
Oda has like a lot of caricature stuff and a lot of like crazy shapes that don't really make sense, with like people with huge square heads or round heads or more traditionally manga heads. While all of his stuff is like always more realistic than most.
It's grounded more on realism a lot of the time. So it's really, whenever he can exaggerate, I think he's looking for that, but still try and ground it in realism. Like the buck teeth thing is kind of like crazy. Those are crazy ass big buck teeth. They're like the size of like dollar bills.
Yeah,
Like-
it is interesting, and like, well, it definitely makes the director stand out. And his little trait where he says every end senses like Zansu, which apparently is like the Japanese version of sheesh, and it's like this widely known cultural reference from this like famous gag manga character.
Oh, is it? Well,
Yeah, if you
what
read the
character is that?
it's something you've probably never heard of. I haven't heard of it. Something from like the 1950s or whatnot. But like in the translator note on the side, it says like the Zansu thing is that like it's basically like a verbal tick, but it's like also like a gag from like a famous manga character that like most people in Japan would be familiar with.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I guess the equivalent of like if I was to come up with something like Bart Simpson's I Caramba.
Oh, okay. I guess so. But yeah, like this story, like it's just starting out. I'm not sure what to expect. Like so far, it's got me slightly interested. There was something that did turn me off a little bit about Billy Bat.
Oh, well, you never finished Billy Bat.
I know, I never did, and it just felt like that manga in particular, like the mysteries just kept on getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and
Yeah,
deeper.
there was never really any big like big solution in Billy Bat.
It just, it was kind of like,
Lost.
yes, I guess Lost is a great comparison, to that feeling that I get when people keep on like adding mystery on top of mystery.
Yeah, and there's never any explanation. It's like, you gotta go, we gotta get off the island. We gotta go back to the island. Why do you have to go back to the island? We just have to go back. Things aren't right. You gotta plug the hole. You gotta do the thing.
Why is Billy Bat's sign on here? This is created before mankind even existed. It's like
there are some answers in Billy Bat, and then there's not. There's a really bold, interesting ending to Billy Bat that I kind of liked. Like, on some ways, if you're like looking for like a direct answer to Billy Bat, like you're probably not going to get one. I don't know. Billy Bat, I still really, really enjoy it. Although I want someone smarter than me to like make the comprehensive like video, so I can like say, "Aha! That's why Billy Bat's so great and smart." But I personally like. I know my own limitations. I know that, like, you know, to do the cultural references and the amount of research that, you know, he puts into his work and get all of it is something I am not capable of. It's someone from, like, you know, an Ivy League university to, like, really dig in, and then I can, like, consume it in easy, digestible 30-minute form and feel smart and then point it out versus actually having to do that research myself.
Yeah. The thing... That's something that I could really respect from, you know, this author. He does, you know, clearly put a lot of research in with his work about, you know, I think he's probably like a huge historical buff. Yeah. So he'll like throw in all these things, you know, and eventually you'll see that they're, you know, all interconnected in some way. Like in Billy Bat, and I assume this is gonna be like a kind of similar manga, where it's like throwing in a lot of historical references, and they're gonna be all connected in some ways.
Well, that's what this feels much lighthearted, more lighthearted than Billy Bat. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a big mystery other than, like, you know, who this director guy is and what's his connection to the Louvre. And I don't feel like it's going to be like a murder mystery, but I do feel like, you know, because this is a collaboration project between the Louvre Museum, that basically, like, this is like the equivalent of, like, to talk about why the Louvre is so amazing. And you get a bit of that where, like, there's, like, just 3 pages where the guy just, like, fetishizes over, like, why Paris is the best city in the world.
Yeah. And he's, like, saying to them, like, I told them, you know, I told the president of France to build a pyramid here.
Yeah, because I'm the real big thing, and the Japanese guy who loves French culture so much that, like, I just, you know, this is how you enjoy a croissant, zanzu, and, you know, strolling and watching the crowds go by, going by the wall that says love in every language, you know, going up to the Eiffel Tower, and this definitely does feel like, you know, a Japanese little pamphlet for why Paris is so great. So I feel like it's not going to be, like, quite as dangerous as, like, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald being portrayed in a sympathetic light and like he was in Billy Bat. But, you know, at the same time, though, I'm still not quite sure what the heck I'm reading.
Yeah. And that has me a little bit scared at the moment. Like, don't know exactly where this is going with the story, the director. Like, he seems to be... He seems to want these characters to believe his story right now. But right now, the little girl is kind of like questioning some of the things in the picture, the photograph he showed. Like, that's not really the
Eiffel Tower. That's the Tokyo Tower. And why do you have this thing in? So he's kind of being set up as an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, and you know, you're not sure if we should believe him or not, like, right now, because the things he's saying right now are very fantastical. And he seems like such a really sketchy, kind of fantastical guy at the moment.
Yeah, his advice isn't great. Like, oh, you still have a passport. Go to France with no money.
Exactly. It's like, wow, that's sound advice. You know, you're on the verge of bankruptcy. You know, you should just go to Paris.
Just go to Paris with no money.
Yeah.
So you can go get kidnapped by hostile people and then, you know, be sold for torture to rich people.
And, you know, Liam Neeson will hopefully come and get you.
Liam Neeson will maybe save you before you're sold off to, like, you know, Iranian sheiks.
Yeah. God, that is terrifying, actually.
well, that's why that movie works so well. Taken is like, it has something that's like real that most people aren't very familiar with, and and the idea of like Liam Neeson being the most capable badass and like just like punching and shooting his way up to the top is like really gratifying.
Yeah.
The ultimate dad movie. But anyway, back to Mujirishi. I don't think it's going to go in that direction. What would you rate this?
I guess from the 2 chapters, both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
I'd say 6.5, 7. It's probably 6.5 right now, because like I got a slight interest for it right now, but it's not like I just don't know what it's about. And
yeah, that's true. I was leaning towards 8, but I do agree with your criticisms. But half of those criticisms,
8?
I feel, I'll go for 7.5. I feel like there's a lot of layers to this, and I feel like I'm just too dumb to like receive them all. I want someone smarter to tell me what they are, so I don't have to do any
So
work.
you're gonna give it a higher rank because you feel like it's for a smarter audience, and you can't understand.
I just really respect the guy's work, and I feel like there's something here that I'm not quite getting. But obviously, I'm still gonna follow it. It doesn't quite have that like oh my god, this is great. I'm gonna sing this thing from the high heavens like Billy Bat did. But like I'm still intrigued about where it's going, and I wouldn't say anything I read was like bad or mediocre. It just sort of like I don't know what's going on here. I'm not quite sure what I'm reading, but I'm curious too.
Yeah,
Not,
I mean,
not,
I suppose
not in a bad way, but
yeah, I just wish they, get on with it and like tell us like what's the point of all this? Like, why are you doing this? Why is there like some secret agent, or not secret agent, but like undercover cop dude like following Mujirishi to this Buddhist factory? Like, what the hell is this Buddhist factory?
Wait, well, is Mujirishi the name of the director, or why is it called Mujirishi again?
Sorry, I'm the director. I assumed his name was Mujirishi.
That's a safe assumption. That's what I'd think, but I think they tell you why it's called Mujirishi before, something to do with the Louvre, but I don't know. It feels like this like the idea that like the Louvre was like we need those Japanese tourists, so we're gonna get Japan's greatest intellectual mangaka to create this like mystery thing that speaks to the wonders of Paris, and who knows, maybe this is like a smarter version of like a national treasure.
If this manga like ended up being like a kind of appreciation piece for like the Louvre itself, and like talking about all the intricate histories behind it, I think that'd be fairly interesting. That'd be something I could look forward to, I think. But it could also be some kind of weird like scam artist kind of manga, I feel, in some ways, because for some reason he reminds me of a kind of people are gonna kill me for not remembering this character, this manga, this anime. The thief anime.
Lupin the Third.
Yeah, Lupin. I think of Lupin when I see this guy. He seems like a kind of scam artist,
like a skeevy guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still not quite sure what to make of him. But it's an interesting comparison that you like get a Lupin the Third vibe, because like he seems a little bit more straightforward than Lupin. Although Lupin's always kind of like vaguely heroic in a way. He's kind of like Luffy. Well, it depends. I've read that there are different interpretations. That like in the original manga, he's much more scummy. While in the anime / various movies, they try and give him more of a heroic light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But when the very first pages of this comic, it seemed like he was running away with something. He's like, I don't know. I
thought he was like running towards something. Like he was eager, like oh, I've got to make it. Like he's like the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland.
It was like this object he picked up from the ground, and then he was running with it. But I just I assumed he was trying to steal something from the Louvre, I guess.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. So, all right, I'm gonna go with this 7.5, and you're gonna go for 6.5.
Yeah, for now.
Okay. Go get high art from T Blocks in the code to get 10% off. T Blocks is the best. We love T Blocks. Maybe you can get some Paris-themed characters like Tintin. I don't know if Tintin's... I think he's a French character. Maybe Tintin...
T-Blocks is a sure investment, unlike those, whatchamacallit, Beverly Duncan masks.
Good pivot. Good pivot. Because t-shirts are always great. It's always good to have t-shirts, unlike Beverly Duncan masks, which are, a bad investment, because you can never trust anyone named Beverly Duncan.
No, you really can't.
I hope Beverly Duncan comes up again, so we can see more Japanese Trump. All right, so thank you for hanging out with us. Hope you're happy, Eel Soifer, that we actually did a review request. Because this is a highbrow manga for highbrow pretending folks like us.
Yeah, for sure.
It's nice to drag ourselves away occasionally from the shonen boy fight pit, just so we can pretend to, broaden our palette with something that's a little bit more multicultural.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of curious to do more random things like this too. Be a nice change of pace every now and then.
Yeah, just to do something interesting. All right, so thank you for hanging out with us, and remember, lobster's antennas, but don't you grab it. Do you like clothes but hate shopping? Then T-Blocks is the subscription service for you. But I know what you're thinking. But Lobster, how is that any different than Loot Crate or the other subscription services? Well, T-Blocks sends you t-shirts, which is clothing, which is actually useful, unlike the useless swag junk that Loot Crate keeps peddling on gullible schmucks. And this isn't just knockoff brand crap. T-Blocks hooks you up with licensed shirts for all the stuff you love, because you need clothes. How else are you going to keep your puny human man flesh protected from the elements? T-shirts are useful for any occasion. Wear them, give them to friends, give them to enemies, knit them together, make a quilt. T-shirts are life. And you know the best part? It'll only cost you $6.99. That's right, you can get 12 shirts sent to you for once a month for only $6.99. And you know what? If ultra cheap licensed goods are too basic for you, then there's also the Community T-Block set, which features original designs from the best up-and-coming artists, so you can keep that hipster street cred. But I'm here to save you even more money! Use the code LOBSTERTBX at checkout, and you'll save 10% on any order. Be a t-shirt wearing god amongst mortals. Use the power of the most expensive seafood to get you the cheapest t-shirts now!
Magazine!